All right, guys, so they dropped the recommended system requirements for the PC. Okay, so the PC system specs, they recommend for 60 frames per second at 1080p high settings. You're gonna want the operating system Windows 10 64-bit, CPU, either the Intel Core i7 10700K or the Ryzen 5 5600X. For RAM, it's going to be doubled from what it was last time. For the minimum, it's gonna be doubled to 16 gigabytes of RAM. And then the GPU, GeForce RTX 2070 or Radeon RX 5 5700 XT. Take that with, you know, with a grain of salt. But here's the thing though. So for me, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, for me, I have an i9 something, but it's a 2080 Super. For me, this is going to be, I'll be able to run it at 60 frames per second at 1080p at high settings. And when it comes out, we'll dissect it a little bit more to see if we can get more frames out of my 2080, just in case if other people that are in the same boat with the same specs that I have for my PC, I'll let you guys know that you guys can run it. But what it seems like what's coming out of the community here is that people are not really happy with how high it is, the recommended, because to point out something here, it is 60 frames per second at 1080p. So people are wanting to know what is the, you know, for 60 frames at 1080p at all high settings, this is pretty high, because it's asking for a GeForce RTX 2070 or a Radeon RX 5700 XT. Hey, if we look in Twitter, we can see, and if we go to the comment sections, we see that there's people in here, like, it's an overwhelmingly, like, it's just like, so most of these are just not good comments. People are not really happy what they just saw. So we got comments here like, here are my recommendations, don't install, getting 170 likes. How can a console with a GPU that is equivalent to a 2070 or better not run this game at 60 frames per second high settings when a 2070 can? That is a good question. With this being released today, people are wanting to know if it's this high, if it's this high just to run 60 frames per second on a 1080p. So 60 frames per second on 1080p. So what is it going to take for 4K? It's going to take, you know, you might need to get those new 4090 GPUs, right? We got one here from Anban Game Tech, says, what the fuck, are you kidding me? 1080 requires 10700K and RTX 2070. How about 1440p and 4K? Will my 380 survive? And he has a 380 and he's worried. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine. Just a note here, guys, even though, yeah, it's 3080, easily will be able to run it at 60 frames per second and 1080p. What he wants to know is he wants the 4K. He wants the ultimate, he wants the ultra experience, right? Which, if you spend so much money on your rig, you should strive to fully push your rig to its fully capability, right? So at first when I saw these, I was like, what are you talking about? 3080? You're gonna easily get the 60 frames per second at 1080p. But no, they want to know 4K. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if it's asking for this high specs for 60 frames just at 1080p, what do you need for the 4K? What is 60 frames at 4K gonna be? You might need them 4090. We got one here from Alan, says, now you see why consoles are limited to 30 frames per second. Clearly the game is very demanding. Would love to see 1440p ultra wide options. Yeah, and was that ultra wide? There's a lot of questions that we have to see, like, okay, was this including ultra wide or not? If you want to run ultra wide, everything on ultra settings, what do you need? And I'm pretty sure there's going to be people out there putting that to the test. So yeah, as you can see, it's just an overwhelming amount of people that are frustrated. It's mostly either people that don't have a strong enough rig, or one that have a really strong enough rig, but they're seeing the recommended specs and how high that is for the 60 frames at 1080p, and they're wondering, like, damn, I thought I was going to easily hit 4K at 60 frames or higher. Like, what's going to happen? And what if I want to do ultra screen? I think that at the end of the day, guys, I think everything is going to be good. But I expected, you know, the response like this. But man, it's hard to find a good comment in here. I'll tell you that. And as long as, you know, I can't go on here and say like, oh guys, this is, what are you guys talking about? All you guys are crazy. Clearly, you know, people are upset with this. I kind of see why they're upset on this one. Some people are getting worried if their rig's going to be able to play it. We'll see. For me though, somebody that I can't even get 4K. This monitor is only 1080p. It's 144 hertz, so 60 frames per second at 1080p, and I'm looking at those specs and I'm rocking a 2080 Super with an i9 processor. So I'm thinking like, okay, for me, I'm cool. Like, hey, I'll be able to run it on ultra, and I'll even try to push it higher to see how far I can go. But then I'll be streaming and recording, so that's gonna really put my rig to the test. But I don't know, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you excited for Gotham Knights? And does this really change things, guys? Does it really change? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll catch you guys next time.